If you feel like you're both obeying and quietly rebelling inside, this video will make you uncomfortable. You're always there like an unheard voice, the one left out of the conversations in the room, the one who can't find comfort in others' superficial acceptance. In the wee hours of the night, your thoughts keep circling. While smiling people pose in a photograph, you feel a deep numbness. Crowds isolate you because they merely consume images. You, however, sense the pain, the logic, and the contradiction behind the image. That's why you feel misunderstood, both smarter and more exhausted, both more awake and a bit fragile. This loneliness isn't a choice. It's a way of perceiving the world, a kind of inner hypersensitivity. Obedience and a rebellious spirit can coexist. At first, this seems illogical because obedience evokes control, harmony, and surrender to the outside world. The rebellious spirit, however, is the ceaseless echo of inner rebellion of no. But consider this. Preparing shields to protect yourself and adapt is a strategy for navigating life's conditions. Obedience is sometimes a refined form of survival, keeping your mouth shut and waiting, hiding your voice, not attacking. The rebellious spirit, however, is that hidden splinter, a rebellion that constantly seeps, that disturbs you. The first is behavior, the second is identity. And in a crowded world, one may need to live both at the same time. Dostoyevsky illustrates this very duality in Notes from the Underground. On one hand, a narrator who bends to society's rules, is cynical, and engages in petty calculations. On the other, someone harboring a fierce rebellion within. That narrator breathed the same air as those who did not know who they were. Yet at the same time he was a little king within himself. A fraud who was both obedient and resistant within. The tragedy of this duality lies in the constant wear and tear of being torn between two poles. Dostoevsky portrays this pain with poetic sorrow. For humanity's greatest tragedy is the simultaneous desire to both surrender and refuse to surrender. The loneliness you feel, the questions posed to the night, the meaningless social facades, arises right in the midst of this. Because your perception captures what others overlook. Their weaknesses, their inconsistencies, the helplessness behind the masks. While this awareness may seem like a gift, it is also a hell. Knowing often makes action impossible. Because knowing provides only a kind of elevation. Jumping down from that height is risky. Obedience is a safety net for you at that height. It's as if you're guaranteed survival by aligning with society's rhythm. The rebellious spirit, however, is the inner voice urging you to leap from that net. Don't accept this. Let's explain this psychological contradiction. Recognize the short, painful truth. The mind hates uncertainty, yet it also fears paying the price of freedom. Obedience reduces the anxiety caused by uncertainty. It masks your subjectivity, your risk, and the potential for rejection. The rebellious spirit, however, insists on the nakedness of your individuality. It accepts the possibility of rejection because feeling real requires not surrendering. This conflict deepens through the learned strategies you've carried over from childhood. Seeking approval, avoiding punishment, then rebelling inwardly. The compliant side within you maintains the safety nets of the past. The rebellious side, however, strives to build a new self. The two battle within the same body. And the darker part of it, society often fuels this contradiction. It tells you to be compliant. At the same time, It promotes a false individuality. You are caught between these messages. On one hand, be normal. On the other, be unique. This dual call is confusing. Dostoyevsky's hero isn't mad for this reason. He simply faces a kind of mental overload created by this double pressure. Your awareness suffers because it hears this dual call more clearly. Now consider this. Obedience is sometimes a strategy, sometimes a mask. The rebellious spirit, however, is an impulse, a test of reality. When these two states coexist within the same person, what often emerges is a kind of internal deception, behaviors that both protect and destroy oneself. For example, staying silent at work and then venting at home, posting harmonious photos on social media while nurturing a different side of your identity in a quiet corner. The causes of these behaviors lie in internal conflicts. Your mind constantly analyzes these conflicts, withdraws, and then re-engages. This cycle is exhausting, yet it is also the source of your richness. Dostoevsky holds up a mirror to you. The more a person tries to understand themselves, the more they fragment. Yet this fragmentation also holds the potential for renewal. The rebellion within the underground man, though it isolates him, grants him a unique perspective. You too avoid looking at the world's surface because of this loneliness and dive into the depths. This depth is as dangerous as it is empowering. Because loneliness, when used correctly, is a tool for discovery, a tool for testing yourself, measuring your limits, and distinguishing which parts are real. A psychological truth. Your desire to stand up usually stems from a minor trauma, a chain of rejections and accumulated injustices. Obedience is often the primary mechanism for coping with trauma. Not reacting, becoming invisible, hiding the pain. The rebellious spirit, however, counts the accumulated injustices. Every injustice becomes the foundation for the next rebellion. That's why sometimes the greatest rebellion simmers within those who appear the most docile. What bothers you most isn't people's superficiality, it's their indifference to deep pain. Because you see this, you feel both isolated and strong. Now I will give you a dark realization. Sometimes you choose obedience because your rebellious side has not yet developed a strategy. The rebellious spirit is merely an emotion. Transforming that emotion into action requires courage, time, and a plan. That is why, for a time, you both obey and nurture an inner rebellion. Because if rebellion is unleashed before it has matured, it can destroy you. The pain in Dostoevsky's voice is the pain of this delay, of this slow simmering process. To be a rebel can be a calculated, cool-headed separation rather than a sudden outburst. And by holding both of these states within you at the same time, you're actually implementing the truest strategy, being ready to change while surviving. This dilemma makes you someone who can't be defined by a single term. Neither fully conforming nor constantly rebelling. Your situation is more complex. This complexity makes you an outsider in modern society because society demands simple boxes. But this complexity also gives you an advantage. You sense contradictions, you feel the chasms. You can understand which words people use and which intentions they hide. This awareness makes you lonelier but also more effective. Try this. For just a moment today, simply observe. In a meeting, at a family dinner, on social media, watch what people sacrifice for the sake of conformity. Take note. Who remains silent, who is secretly worn down by what they've accepted. Notice this in yourself. Remember when you stay silent and when you explode. This observation is a mirror. It shows you how you behave. And as you do this, don't rush. You don't have to respond. Freeze, observe, think. Dostoyevsky's point is this: a person's meaning is often sought outside the meaning society imposes. The underground man confesses what goes on inside him. This confession both liberates and curses him. Your uniqueness arises here as well. In not hiding the inner conflict, you have the courage to confess. This is not a virtue but a fate, yet you decide how to use your fate. Striking a balance between your rebellious spirit and your compliant side makes you more authentic. And now a deeper question. Does your rebellious spirit truly seek liberation, or is it worshiping a false ideal of freedom? Because rebellion can sometimes be a fantasy, to be technologically free, to break free from all bonds, to tear down boundaries. But true freedom often demands radical responsibility. While obedience can sometimes be a way to postpone responsibility, rebellion can be a gateway to it. Your task is to see what lies beyond that door before opening it. Don't rush to answer this question. Two languages speak within you, an old one calling for conformity and protection, a new one whispering the truth, that naked reality. Living with both at the same time is a strange power, because most people either surrender completely or cling to a protective rebellion. You know both, that's why you're fragile, yet beneath the mask of compliance you're hatching a plan. This plan might one day be a calm act of liberation instead of the slap of raw rebellion. A truly strong person is one who can both obey and rebel when necessary. This is an art of balance. It is not a battle. Accept this. Control is not merely a defense you build against the outside world. It is also about managing your inner weaknesses. A rebellious spirit, if left unchecked, can rot. Completely rejecting obedience will sever you from society. Maintaining balance isolates you, yet it also makes you more true to yourself. Here's another experiment. Set a limit for yourself. Rebel in a small way. For example, say no to the pressure to tell a lie. Observe what has changed in the world. What has changed within you? This small act forces you to understand the logic of both your rebellious and your obedient sides. And you'll realize that most of the time, the greatest rebellion begins with a small act of honesty. This honesty makes you more visible, and being visible means both risk and freedom. Dostoevsky doesn't tell you to be brave. He shows you the tragedy of being honest. Your task is to accept the tragedy and dance with it. Your rebellious spirit will push you outward. Your obedience will keep you inside. Every now and then, stand at the edge of the wall and check which side feels heavier. This act of checking is called being yourself. Now, the final heavy yet empowering truth. Your uniqueness, born from these contradictions, could be the world's most valuable gift. People love easy people, they fear difficult ones. But history is filled with the stories of those who chose the difficult path. The coexistence of your rebellious spirit and your obedience makes you someone who understands both people and systems. Though this may seem like a curse, it actually grants you true power. The power to time your actions, plan your outbursts, and never stop fighting even when you're silent. One final invitation. Ask yourself today, which rule are you choosing to follow because you truly believe in it, and which rule are you choosing to follow because you're afraid? The answer to this question will reveal your own strategy. And remember, This isn't a test. It's a journey of discovery. Just wait, watch, and feel. Let's close with this. Living in a world that misunderstands you brings loneliness. But this loneliness also makes you sharper, clearer. Obedience and a rebellious spirit do not exclude one another. They can complement each other. The moment you recognize this complementarity, you gain a different stance toward the world. Power is often silent. It lies not in the voice of the rebellious side, but in the calmness of your decisions. And now, one final question. What truth are you hiding while you obey, and what truth will your rebellious spirit reveal?